Hey everybody, it's Michelle LaVore and
Devin LaVore
coming at ya. And as always, huge welcome to all new subscribers, and we're so glad that you found us. And it really is just our hearts that, you know, this is just a place for great encouragement in your walk with the Lord. As we just share what God is doing in our life, we just pray that you guys are encouraged in your own life and as you continue to just seek after Him. And so huge welcome to everyone, and welcome back for those of you who continue to watch all these videos. And we also want to just give a huge thank you for everyone who continues to support us. And it truly is just a blessing from the Lord, and it's been awesome just to see His miraculous hand in our life in that regards. And if you would like to support us, we do have a PayPal link below, and you can just click that, and we would greatly appreciate that, especially as we go into the new week. That's always usually when we're in need of support. So if you can help us out, that would just be awesome.
We're almost there.
We totally understand. So again, huge thank you. And
it's God who supplies, right?
It really is. And we're getting ready to just walk into what God has supplied for us. So
yeah, that's right. That's a great segue.
It is.
Because what are we talking about today? Do you remember? You said you knew the gist.
I do.
You got the gist. You need me to tell you the gist again?
Yeah.
Too late. I'm getting ready to do the video now. You gonna hear it now.
I know. I've heard it twice already.
You don't forgot it. Woo! You know, it took us about 7 takes to get that coming
intro.
At you right. It just the intro was just we were having too much fun.
We were.
Maybe I should put it at the end. Blooper reel or something.
Blooper reel. Yeah.
Anyway, so today we got another word from the Lord. It was more like just an encouragement from God's heart to really just encourage our faith and really just cement in more of the reality that's already true, but cement it more in our hearts. Let the revelation, the light flood that dark area of our heart that might think that, well, God might let me down, or those areas that pop up like whack-a-mole, and we get worried, we get anxious, we get scared, this is really, really, really going to help that. It could. It'll definitely be just another investment or a link in the chain at least.
Yeah.
It was for me, got my notes, it was for me, because I was like, wow, that is so true. So I'm just going to jump in. Yeah? And it is basically that I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you that God's plan for you is already complete and done and finished, and then He invites you into it.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times as we're walking with the Lord and He sets this promise before us, He sets this joy before us, we wonder why our lives work out. You know, if Jesus didn't know any better, He could have said that too. He could have been like, oh, Lord, Father, you set this joy before me. What is going on? Why am I being beaten? And why is my back being filleted? Why am I what is going on? This doesn't make any sense. But it was all part of the plan, right? And so let's just jump into it real quick. Just remember, God's plan for you is already finished and done. Then He invites you into it. Example number 1, Exhibit A. So there are 5 days of creation, right? 5 days. And then on the 6th day, God created man. Oh, and this is really cool. He created man outside of the garden. And then once He finished man, He put man in the garden. He placed man in the garden. See, the garden, everything, the whole earth, everything, down to the leaves on the tree were complete. And then God brought Adam into it. You see? So bookmark that one. Here you go. Hold on to that. Now, the banquet. You know, Jesus talks about a banquet. He talks about a banquet at the end. And God's given us a vision a banquet vision. Just to recap, because I know there's a lot of people that have not seen a lot of our older visions or our older videos, which have some of our older visions in it. But God gave me this vision a while ago. Gosh, when was that? Back in 2017 now, huh?
Yep.
Where we were in this desert and we were standing before these big, huge golden double doors. I mean, they were huge. They were probably like 100 feet tall or something. They were insanely huge. And we're all just standing there. We're waiting to go in because we know that's the place we need to go. And then this wind comes along, and at the same time, it blows open the door, but it also lifts us up. The wind literally lifts up this line of people in front of this door and carries them through the door, but like carries them up into the air. And it's like it's like a big huge tornado or something, just carries them, but we're not afraid. We're actually really excited, and we're like, whoa, we're like on this ride or something. And then the wind sets us in the seat at this banqueting table. And then we did tons of videos on that, and we made mention to it many times. And the Lord reminded me, like, the banqueting table, or even normal banquets or, wedding receptions or anything like that, the stuff is already prepared before you come in.
Yeah.
It had been prepared all along, and then you get brought into it. You see what I'm saying? Like Abraham is a great example. Abraham, God had already given Abraham this promise about what his life was going to be like, what his legacy was going to be like, all of that stuff. He shared that with him in the beginning because it was already done. In God's mind, it was already finished. It was already complete. Then he said, hey, Abraham, come see what I have for you. Come on this journey. Come on this walk. Right? And there's more that I could say. I don't think I'm going to share that example. I got quite a few examples. But when you think about our other two examples, we use Abraham, David, and Joseph. God had already prepared what he was going to do, and then he invited them to go into it.
Yeah.
And there's just so many examples, and kind of little subtext to this is a lot of times when God invites you from one thing into the promise or the promised land or whatever it is, in between the hey, I'm inviting you in and here's the receiving of it, there's this space of time, which often is a wilderness time. Joseph, it was a dungeon prison time, but that was a wilderness experience for him. It's that place where God just strips you of yourself. I mean, strips you completely of yourself, and just you are clothed with dependency on God, love for God, just no selfish agenda whatsoever. And then God, now I can lead you into the promise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not like you're in this situation because you're being bad, or there's still work you're to do and you're being unrepentant of your sin or anything like that. No, God's like, I really, 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 really like you. I really want you to come into this. Therefore, let's go on this journey. It's not, because we have the wilderness. You think wilderness, and oftentimes you think of bad things because you think of the nation of Israel coming out of Egypt, and and how they messed it up. And then that kind of colors what we think of the wilderness. No, God invited them in, and he took them to this place where it's just him and them, so they can develop intimacy and relationship. That's what it's about. It's just getting so close to God that just he actually means more to you than the promise and the joy set before you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then when you go into that promise and the joy set before you, it's really for his purpose. Does that mean you're not ready for it? Well, yeah, there could be a maturity thing, but if your heart's not right, that's a completely different issue. You know what I'm saying? It's like God always brought, like with David, he said, hey, this is my promise to you. You're going to be king over all my people. Come on, let's go. And he went through this long journey, this long wilderness type of absence from anything that even looks remotely like the promise. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Yeah.
You know, we have a vision, we have a dream, we have a promise from God, and we've got 89 prophecies to go with it, and 112 confirmations. And you know what I mean? And it's just like, man, that is a lot of investment on the shelf of my heart. That's a lot that you've put in. And God's like, yes, I've got more. But what you need to understand is that all of this stuff, I'm just telling you what's already actually real in my heart and my mind.
Yeah.
I've already finished it. I finished it, then I invited you. Then I began giving you the visions. Then I began giving you the dreams. Then I began giving you the prophetic words. Then I started showing you the prophetic numbers that attach, and the prophetic signs that attach, and these symbols, you know, things that all speak and color the thing that I've been sharing with you this whole time. You know, I brought encouragement to you, and all of this to help us, you know, help you go through the journey.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like when God, what is it? Psalm 139, it says, the days of my life were already written, completed. The book was already completed before I was even born. It's like before I was even given birth to, God's like, ooh, I got this idea. I'm going to call it Devin. All right, done. The book's done. Okay, go give birth to him. You know what I mean? It's done. His life's done. Now give him life. You see what I'm saying? Give this idea life. There, let there be life. And so it's like so the encouragement is, God has called you. He's given you a vision and all that. He's only doing that because he's leading you to what is already finished. So the only thing that can keep you from receiving it is for you to just give up. You know, the time frame, it's taking too long. This can't be this. Therefore, this can't be the Lord. I'm going to go this direction. And it's like you start operating in yourself. You know, and so that's what I wanted to say. Did you want to add to it?
I did.
You want me to hold the notes now?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I liked this example, you know, just speaking about like the journey, and really the only thing that's going to stop you from getting there is stopping.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about, you know, if you were playing the game Candyland and you're going and, you know, and of course in that game you could be pretty far, and then it's like, oh no, you have to go back down, move back, and you know, you feel like
get those daggone lollipops.
You're never. I think it's candy canes actually. At the
Candy cane. That's what it is. The two candy canes. You pull that card. You're like, ah.
And so, you know, it can feel like, man, I'm never gonna make it to the end of the game. But if you just play and you go through the whole game, you're gonna make it to the end. And so it's like that with the Lord. You know, as long as you keep going after the Lord, even if you feel like you've moved back, when the truth is you really haven't. You know, the Lord is always moving forward in our lives.
Yep.
It might seem like, you know, you might fall off in a ditch. You're not actually moving backwards. You're just stuck in a spot maybe. But the Lord is always there, ready to just help you back onto the road, and let's just keep going. You know, and so there's always just that forward momentum, and it's like that, as long as you just keep going, you keep seeking the Lord, you keep listening, you keep your heart open, and just like, Lord, okay, what are you saying for my life today? And you just move in that direction, you will get to those promises. And so I just took, when we were talking about it this morning, I just took like, oh yeah, that's just really awesome. You know, we are going to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. And it just really, I think the Lord, for me personally this morning when I was praying, I just was just like, wow, like just a lot of thank yous. You know, God does say like, ask and just keep asking, and we were asking, but at the same time I was just like, this morning my prayer was slightly different, because it was just like, thank you, Lord, that we are going to see all of these things that you've spoken over our life, you know, and
it's already done,
and these are things that have been tried, they've been tested. The Lord has proven that yes, this is what I have you believing for.
Yeah.
You know, this is the direction that I have you going in. And it's just like, all right, well, we can greatly rejoice that.
And every one of them is utterly impossible.
Yeah, unless
can
the
anybody
Lord...
raise their hand on that one? Like, yep, mine too. Yep, my vision, my dream. Yeah, it's totally impossible.
Yeah, unless the Lord does it.
Yeah. Something as simple as like getting married. For me, I got to a point where I was like, it's impossible. Because what I know I need and what I'm looking for and what I want, it's just not there, you know? Because you can think that like finding a spouse, well, that's just easy.
Yeah.
Man, nothing is easy when you're just doing it on your own.
Yeah.
You need the Lord for everything, you know?
Yeah. And so I wanted to say that, but I also wanted to just, you know, when you were talking about the Lord, like, taking us into the wilderness, and it really is a time to develop intimacy, and I was just struck by the fact that, you know, Adam really was formed outside the garden.
He was.
I think I'd have to read it and check it, but I think it might have even said wilderness.
From the dust of the ground.
From the dust of the ground.
There was no dust of the ground in the garden. Just saying.
Yeah.
But whatever.
But either way,
your point is.
Well, just that he was fashioned outside of the garden, and then he was placed into the garden. And it was just like, I think the idea is that, you know, when the Lord is fashioning us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said it right the first
sounds
time.
Funny. You know, when he takes us into these garden times and places, it's like, it's so that he really is making us to be like him, making us to in his image,
yes.
And he's forming and fashioning, like he is making us in those wilderness places so that he can place us into the promise.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, it comes through just stripping off like old mindsets and the way that we think and feel about certain things, and, you know, sin and all those things that can entangle us. And so the Lord takes us through a growth and maturing process. And but it's like we can really greatly rejoice even in the wilderness, because we know that he's making us ready to go into the promises that he has for us, that are sure, you know. And because even Jesus, like, he was, after he was baptized, it said the Spirit led him to the wilderness, and you know, and it was a place of testing, but it was also a place where he was fasting and praying and like really drawing close to the Lord
as he could.
And then it was like afterwards, then the Lord had him go into really his destiny and call on his life, you know, and so I just think
which was prophesied in the Garden of Eden.
Yes.
I mean, it just was.
Yes.
It's like, wow, talk about waiting for a prophetic word to come to pass. Like, wow. But now that was 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
See, I'm just saying, like, you got to start seeing things from God's perspective, in a sense of like I remember when it was like when I was single and I was like, I'm never going to get married. This is utterly impossible. And in that year, you prayed an impossible prayer. Lord, I want to get married this year. You're probably like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't even have any prospects.
Nope.
And for both of us, it happened. You know, man, it is getting dark and stormy.
It is getting dark and stormy.
This is a little dark. They can be like, why are you guys so much darker? You need some light
on
your videos. Like, well, normally there is sun, but it's like storming out there.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, look at those trees. They're bending like crazy. Excuse me. Okay, there we go. A little bit more light.
A little more light
in it, because it was getting really dark.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like really dark out there. But anyway, I think I said dark enough. Let's go.
Yeah, so, you know, the Lord, that's what he does. He's forming us, and he's making us more into his image, which really is what Jesus himself did when he called his disciples. It was, again, an invitation for them to come. He said, hey, come follow me. Come see how I do things. And so they followed him, and the whole time that Jesus was ministering, he really was fashioning their hearts into hearts to be like his.
Yeah.
And to really just teaching them, like, hey, this is the kingdom of God. Let me share with you what the Lord, this is what the true kingdom of God is like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've been raised to think certain ways and think certain things, but I'm telling you, this is what it really is like, and let me fashion your hearts in this way so that when I leave, you're going to be ready.
Well, and it's like that whole, like, you've heard a lot, now let me show you all this stuff that you've heard, you know?
And really, it's what the Lord did with the Israelites when he took them out of Egypt.
Yeah.
He's like, I brought you out of bondage, and he brought them to the place of wilderness. I really believe it was you know, a time because he was like, I got to fashion your hearts back to being after me, you know, because they've been formed into this way of thinking that is not me.
Yeah.
And it really is where I believe just the church is today. You know, our hearts, they have been fashioned and formed to think about God in a certain way. And there has been a remnant of people that God has collected. And, you know, I believe that's why there's this group of people and we're going through the wilderness. And it has been a time where God is
so
like,
many, right?
Yeah.
There's just so many.
It's like, and God's saying, I'm taking your hearts and I am changing them. I am making them whole. It is about, like, you know, each of us individually and our whole family have experienced, you know, the Lord working on our hearts. But as a whole, as the body of Christ, God is like, I am trying to fashion your hearts really back to my heart.
Yeah.
You know, back to just really seeing me for who I really am.
Kind of a back to the garden type of cliche. I don't care how many times you hear it, but that's really what he's doing.
Yeah, it really is.
Restoring what was lost.
Because there has been just a bondage of thought, a bondage of putting God in a particular box and way of seeing him and all of that. And God's like, all right, I'm stripping all of this away so I can have my bride free and able to just listen to me and go after me and move with me.
Yeah.
And that's really what all of this is part of. And it's like, all right, this is just all of us. We're in this wilderness journey part, and it's really a time for God to draw close to us.
Yeah.
And
that's the purpose.
Yeah, and
it's
for
not because
us
you're
to,
in sin or something.
Yeah,
you know?
It's like it's for us to draw closer to Him and to see Him for who He really is.
Come on.
And it's like, you know, we have that opportunity now in the wilderness with the Israelites. Yes, there was a point with the Lord. He was trying to show Himself. He was trying to say, "This is who I am," and they rejected Him.
He was trying to continue to show Himself.
Yes.
And they continued to reject Him.
Yeah.
You know,
and so that
like,
resulted in, yes, they were continually in the wilderness until that generation died. But I believe for like those that, you know, you are like the remnant of the body of Christ that God is working and moving in right now. He's saying like, you know, you're people who are not rejecting the Lord. You're going after His heart. You're yielding and just allowing Him to work in your life, even if it's difficult, even if it's hard, even if it brings up like...
Even if it's long.
Yeah, even if it's long. Even if
like,
it brings up just like stuff that you're like, oh, I don't want to look at that, Lord.
Ooh,
I don't want to, oh, that's painful. You know, but the Lord's like, just let me work through this.
Yeah.
You know, it's those that you're just like, okay, Lord, He says, give this up, you gave it up. You know, those are hearts that are like in the wilderness that are saying, yes, Lord, you have me in this wilderness, but I'm going to draw close to you. And those are really the Joshua and Caleb's, you know, those who are going to see the land of promise, and they're saying, yes, Lord, we can go in. Because you are amazing.
Yeah.
You are great.
Yeah.
You're greater than any giant we could ever face.
Yes.
And it's like those are the hearts that God is trying to develop in the wilderness time.
Yeah.
And we can just and so in it, you know, it's like we can greatly rejoice for the promise that God has before us, because he will get us to that promise. And so we can just take great rest. I really felt today just like this great, like, kind of peace, very much like Hannah. She prayed and she cried out to the Lord, and then Eli said, may it be done, may the Lord do for you what you've asked. And it said she went away with peace, meaning her heart was just at rest, saying, it's going to happen. I am going to receive from the Lord the very thing that I've asked of him.
And she walked away with a word. That's it. That's all you ever need, because God's plan and purpose for you that's already written, that he's inviting you into, is written with his word.
Yeah.
So he's revealing to you his word.
Yeah. And it was like her whole countenance changed. She went and she ate, because she was so distraught and distressed that she was like, I'm not even going to eat.
Girl was depressed.
Yeah.
I don't want to eat. I just want to stay in bed all day.
Yeah, I
don't got no kids to take care of. Those are your kids, Panina. Don't take your kids. Get them out my room. They keep messing with my stuff.
But it was like her whole heart just changed. And so it's just like, even with us, I really felt this morning, just like my heart was just like, yes, Lord, you really are going to do this. We are going to see this. We are going to see your promises unfold before our very eyes, and it is going to be truly amazing.
That's a Zephaniah 3:20. Because God gave that to us like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to reverse your captivity right in front of you, right before your eyes.
Yeah.
It's like, yes.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you.
So I think that's just what I had to share. Did you have anything
that was
else?
amazing. That was great. You just sucked it all up.
Just sucked it up with a big giant biscuit.
Never do that again.
So I think that's all that we have for you guys today. Just pray that you really are encouraged, even when you're in this wilderness time, to just really just know that the Lord has already written the plan for your life, and you just keep following him, and you will see that plan. You will see it just come to pass before your eyes, all the promises that he has for you.
Yeah.
And
there was something I did want to share real quick. I forgot I wanted to say this. But it's like, the Lord gave us a vision, and I've had this vision before, even before I got married, but he showed me these scrolls that were over our family's heads. And God was like, that's the purpose and destiny that I have written for you. That's the book. It's not necessarily a bound book like we're used to, but that's the book. It's a little book. And God was saying, like, when I share with you, you got to understand, I'm outside of time. I see all of time from the beginning to the end. And it's funny, because even in the end, it's like that's the Lord. It's already prepared. It's already done. And he's just inviting the church as a whole into the, behold, I make all things new. Here's the new Jerusalem. Here's everything new. And he's just inviting us into it through the gospel. That's what it is. It's an invitation into the new thing that Jesus birthed in the earth. But it's like when God gives you a dream or a vision or anything, any kind of symbol or sign or communication by his Spirit, a prophetic word through someone else that really hits you, and God's like, that is for you. All of that, God's saying, like, that's him taking things from your scroll, from your book written, and he's just sharing it with you. He's sharing with you things that are already written. There are things that we have prophesied and that have been prophesied over us and our kids. And God just like, that's just stuff that was already written, and I'm just sharing it with you. Hold on a second. It's like my daughter, she just finished reading these books. Can you see them? She just finished reading this whole book series. I've never read it. Okay, and it's like if someone invites me to read the book. Oh, okay, cool. Well, as I'm reading through it, I'm getting revelation. I'm getting insight. I'm getting understanding. I'm getting more of the story. It's like, whoa, whoa. But let's say, I get tripped up at a certain page and I'm like, I don't like this. I'm not going to read it anymore. Because I don't believe and I don't want to keep reading the book, does that mean that this stuff isn't written? No, it's actually still written. It's there. It's an invitation for you to keep reading it. And it's like, that's what our journey is like.
Yeah.
As we go day by day by day, it's like we're going page by page, chapter by chapter through this story that God's written that ends in us getting the vision and the promise that he has for us. And then a lot of times for us as believers, when we get that promise and that vision, there's more. It's like, oh, okay, we finished that book. Here's the next book.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another book? Well, yeah. I got an encyclopedia with your name on it. You know what I mean? Or they're just like, God has a story from beginning to end of your life, and there are different chapters and sections of it. And each chapter and section has promises and prophetic words and things that are already written. So when we hear stuff in the Spirit and prophetic words and all that stuff, don't throw that stuff out, because that's God sharing with you what's going to be happening in the future. So just a further encouragement, that's all.
Yeah, so...
Because that's what we do. We encourage people.
So we just pray that you guys are truly blessed by all that God is saying and speaking over your own life.
Yeah.
And that you can really just, just hold on to all that he's given you and continue to just believe and have faith for those things, because it is true. What the Lord speaks is truth. And so we can hold on to that and keep that, and I think that's
John 17:17.
Yep.
Go look it up.
So
little homework for you.
Yeah. So guys, I just pray that you guys are blessed, and until next time,
we will
see you later.
Love you guys.
Bye.
See ya.